My guest today used to be my manager when I worked at PetSmart. I always loved working with Derrick because he was a lot of fun and he brought a lot of great energy to the team. Recently, he left the retail world and has now moved into the world of sales. Dun, dun, dun! Now he is working for Isaac Heating and Air Conditioning as one of the salesmen. And when I was catching up with Derrick, we quickly learned how much similarities our two jobs still have together. Even though I sell houses, he's selling HVAC. We're still selling solutions to consumers. And every time I grab lunch or coffee with Derrick, I feel like we're treading on very similar waters, and there's tons of correlations between our two businesses. So I figured it would make a really good podcast to have him on, catch up with him, shoot the shit, and talk about his new business, his new venture, and how it stacks up to real estate. So if you like the podcast, don't forget, I hardly ever ask, but make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, comment below. Let me know what part of the podcast was your favorite. I loved catching up with Derrick because he was a lot of fun. So if there's a part in the conversation you loved, put it in the comments below. I'm excited to hear it. Here is my ex-manager friend, Derrick Fischer. If I didn't have to share an office, I would put like a small desk, remove things off the wall, and then like situate two chairs with multiple mics. Because this mic will be okay.
Right.
It's just not as cool as when you have each person has their own mic.
I can move it in different ways.
Yeah, and also
there's
too,
like
the
a
audio
stick
sounds
cover.
better. Yes, that's upgrades though. Next time, like I need to get a boom, just so I can move it. Like it wouldn't even. I would do nothing
like,
with it.
Resituate and it'll come with you. You pop it around.
Yeah. I'd constantly just be like moving it around for no reason. I'd like be like, so tell me about this next project you're working on. Just like moving it all over, being so annoying with it. It'd be like my new nervous tick.
The interview was great, except Cory was acting like a deranged psychopath.
He could not sit still. He was all over the place.
This is Mr. Fidgety.
Man, it's one day. Thanks for doing this. This is I'm excited because we've known each other for so freaking long. How long has it been?
I don't know, Old Navy, not Old Navy, PetSmart, maybe 5 years ago. So maybe
it feels like
6 years ish.
I think longer.
7 years?
Because I was working at Runnings this would be like year 7 for me if I was still there.
All right, so then it's probably closer to 10.
Isn't that crazy? That's
Yeah.
wild to think, huh? When you had started working at PetSmart, you came over assistant manager to work with Dwight.
Yep.
And we always thought you were a little crazy. Because you're singing in the morning. Every morning you're like, everything is awesome.
Yeah,
We're like, what is this guy's
I'm a little out there, but
no,
but
but that's good though. Like we working at 5 a.m. sucked,
right?
And you made it way cooler.
It makes it different.
Yeah,
it's a way to I think bring people together and kind of tear down borders and get everyone to be more comfortable.
Yeah,
it's not like oh crap, like this guy's here. Like it's. I've used it to just, again, break down walls. The conversation is genuine. You know I'm real. I'm not an asshole.
Right. Is that the game plan when you went into like a totally new environment? Because I felt like when I would go from a new store, it was about just getting to know people, but I didn't have a plan for it. Was that your plan going in? Was like, all right, I gotta show people what's up, show them genuine.
It's not a plan. It's just who I am.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's not like, all right, well, I have to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, I think I maybe more had a plan in that direction. But it's right now, it's just me. Like that's just who I am. I bring it to the table. I'm not shy. I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. I want to engage. But I also want to show you like I'm just a dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the some people are just so like structured with that kind of stuff. And I am not that kind of person. Not to that point, right? Not to be like, oh, I got to get in and I need to meet 2 people every day and I need to do this and this. I'm just like, I'll just let it organically happen by asking like open-ended questions. That's how we hired Dan from PetSmart. When we hired him, I was just like, hey, what do you like to do in your free time? What do you do when you're not at work?
Yeah.
And you get them to open up about other things that they're passionate about, and then all of a sudden you can't get them to stop talking.
Right.
It's just like a switch.
I agree. And that's what kind of me being a good spot for retail, because I can just start a conversation with people. I can just begin talking and open them up and have jokes that kind of get people just to laughing at the situation, and then you get them to talk. You get them to say what's going on. And so it's I guess maybe that's a strategy I've developed over the years, or just
it sounds weird like that, right?
Because it's not a strategy. I don't like. Well, first, I got to step with my left foot. B, my right foot. Then smile, eye contact. No, it just develops, and it's more fun that way, I think. Yeah, right.
A little more. That was one of the better qualities of you. You were always you're very genuine and very personal person. Has that kind of been able to help you in the new career path?
Yes, it's going to help me. But first of all, I mean, it's a completely different environment, atmosphere, industry. So I went from retail to HVAC sales, basically.
Right.
So I'm learning everything new, and the way that sales process goes, it's completely different. Like in retail, you go around to like talk about crates and dog food or clothes or anything, and you buy it or you don't really care, because you're going to make 10 grand, 15 grand that day, and it just goes on. But this is you're tied to those sales, and there's a different tightrope to walk of how to, because you're now asking for 10, 15, 17, $20,000 to do X, Y improvement to their house. So how do you, I don't want to say convince them this is the best way to go. How do you
show them the solutions?
Show them how valuable it is. Get them to talk about how valuable it is to them. And there's, as you start to learn some stuff, there's tricks that other guys use and you're taught that it doesn't feel right now. And to do the certain XYZ to get a sale, to get them bought in. So it's trying to find how I still become genuine, still talk to people, still be myself, but then also help them go with solutions that hopefully I can provide.
It's a little bit more of like a more intimate sale than
Absolutely.
Somebody's coming in and buying dog food, then you don't see them for another month, right until the dog food runs out. But with something like that, if you're working on a project with somebody, how long are you basically working with that customer for? Like average turnaround? Is it like a week or a month, 3 months?
It could be like generally about a month from the point you meet the customer to when an install happens. Depending on how long install dates are, it could be 2 months, depending on how long it takes you to build the project. So you have to build, you have to research the house, research what's going on in the house, how do they want to live, what's their budget, and kind of develop a solution from there that fits to what they want. And then, so my sales process, it seems like it's been going to maybe a 3 call before I can close. Some guys can do it in 1 call. Some guys get warm leads, which people are like, hey, I want a new furnace. Can they close that? Versus when I go in, I do energy audits. So a big portion of my job is to educate you how your house is operating. What's going on with your house? Are you cold? Are you warm? What different levels are doing? Where's the insulation? And get you to see, not get you to see, but help understand the importance of what that insulation can do for you. We all know insulation
and save money, right?
Right, because if you get a hot coffee and you pour it in a glass, it's going to cool down pretty quick. Take a hot coffee, pour it in a Yeti, it's going to stay pretty warm. So now we got to apply that to your house. And unfortunately, a Yeti is not cheap.
Right.
Insulation is not cheap, but yet you don't lose as much heat. Therefore, don't have to put more heat into your house or cooling into your house. And so you stay more comfortable longer.
I love that analogy, the Yeti cup. Because Yetis are expensive. They're so expensive.
True.
But would you say, like, if you look, here's another good way, keeping with the Yeti analogy, those things last forever.
Like you could probably will those out to your kids or your grandkids, right?
Yeah.
But that's the same idea as like insulation, right? Like maybe it's a big chunk that you're having to pay up front, but in the long run, that probably
it's not going away.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's less that you have to heat the house or cool it, right? Because it's not just heating that you guys do too.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, we do heating, cooling. So I can talk about heating, cooling systems, insulation to help retain the heat and cooling, water heaters as well. Isaac do generators and fireplaces. I haven't even touched on those. There's plenty of
generators.
Yes, generators.
And what was the other one?
Fireplaces.
Oh, you guys do fireplaces and generators. Oh, wow. Okay.
So, but there's plenty to learn. Like, because also with heating and cooling, you have furnaces, you have boilers, you have these new heat pump systems. So there's so much to learn. And coming from retail, where I sold pet food and built
puppy
teams
kits.
and puppy kits and all the stuff that goes with retail, like, and all those skills you build for that. Now you have to pretty much throw it away and just basically learn how to communicate to people. And I don't want to use the word sell, but I'll offer these options for you.
Well, the correlation between the two jobs, the retail and sales, you're still communicating with people.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, you build on the fact that I can talk to anyone. Now, how do I talk to them and help them understand why they want to go in this direction?
But how did you learn how to talk to anybody? Like, how did you learn how to generate conversations? Is it just something
I was just born.
You're just right. Like some people are naturally really good at that, right? Other people you have to work at it for.
I think the light switch went off for me at Old Navy, and I started to realize I could connect to people and not realize it. And I was the idiot at 16 years old wearing shorts every day. So in the middle of winter, I wore shorts because I was 16 years old and I was a dude, and I'm not that cold. Shorts are cool. Shorts are where it's at. I like to show off my calves, man.
Yeah, right.
So some customers started to recognize me, and just through my conversations and being a goofy, silly kid, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy wearing shorts all the time." And I started to realize I can make a difference, maybe just for a second or two. Maybe it helped them throughout the rest of their day because I was there smiling, being positive, thinking the best of others. Like, I think that's where my light switch kind of went off. Like, I'm doing something kind of good.
And when you were at Old Navy, were you a manager?
No, I was never a manager. Was I a manager at Old Navy? No. Had my first managing gig with Gap. So I was a sales lead or something. I would do some orientations. I would still move product around. I would still help lead the team. So they identified me pretty early on that I could be a leader.
Yeah. Interesting. So it was just something that you were just a natural born talent.
I guess.
Yeah.
It was what I gravitated to. I remember playing basketball at 12. I would typically be the point guard, and I never could shoot the best or pass the best, but I could at least get the play organized and people moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
So
you still playing basketball?
No.
Do
I look like I play basketball?
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm the guy that just picks everyone. All right, guys, I'll be the guy that sets the pick for everyone. I'll just stand here and you guys will run around and do something. That's why just 7 kids. When do I have time to play basketball?
Yeah.
I get home and cook dinner and pass out.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. No, going back to relating with people.
That one kid. Oh, yeah, it must be tough. That 7 kids versus, that one kid I have. That's I feel you.
Yeah, I have 1 kid. Go ahead and tell me how many kids you have again.
That's 7 of them.
7 kids, Derrick. 7. Yeah, I got 1.
Tell me how tough that one is.
I got 1 and I'm exhausted.
Oh,
you got 7. You have no time to play basketball.
There's no time.
You could form a basketball team with the kids, though.
Right.
Is that the plan?
You can form a basketball team and have 2 subs. There's 2 reserves still.
That's right. You have a full bench. Oh, my God. Going back to relating to people.
Yes.
I can't believe you have 7 kids. Jesus, man. My palms are sweating. Okay. I had somebody tell me a long time ago, just to get somebody to talk to you, all you have to do is ask them open-ended questions. Don't ask them yes, no questions. Ask them, what do you do in your... that's always my go-to. I feel like that's a cheesy one, but I'm always like, what do you like to do when you're not working when you're not at PetSmart stocking shelves, or, and that seems to like get them to open up about at least what they're passionate about. And then that gives me other questions that I can fire off. Oh, you like playing guitar? What's like do you like acoustic? Do you like electric? Why or why not? Do you play bass at all? What's your favorite musician? Like, it kind of just like starts to open up. Is that's a game plan when you go into somebody's house too, right? Like, you're trying to ask these open-ended questions for what their problem is, what would be in their budget, what's the expected outcome, stuff like that.
Yeah, you have that as a general game plan. I like to pepper in the goofy, silly things, and I get sidetracked on talking about kids, and like I get sidetracked on talking about stuff. So like I don't try to get them to, like, I have fun talking about other things too. Yeah. Like, and it's like you have to come back to the conversation. Then I get on tangents all the time, talking to friends. Like, you get on a tangent talking about some ridiculous thing in the world, and then you have to pull it. But like, yeah, I can naturally flow through a conversation and not be like, oh, like that's the open-ended questions. Right. I can generally get into silly, goofy things and find the humor in what is being said, and that's, I guess, more my route is to enjoy the conversation, and then things open up.
Gotcha. When I first got into real estate, I didn't like the term scripts, because scripts felt very icky. It was just like, I say this, you say that, and I respond with it. But what I realized is scripts is just like this go-to phrases and go-to questions that you have. When you go into somebody's house, do you have those keywords, the scripts that you're using?
I'm developing them. I'm developing and starting to figure out what's working and what's not working, and how I can key on things. So it's developing. And I had that in retail. Like, you say good morning in the middle of the afternoon, and it gets you a smile as they begin walking through the store, and as you re-engage with them, you can get them to open up a little bit more. And so it's that style I'm trying to find here as well.
What was the biggest hurdle that you had to jump from, going from retail to I want to call it sales, but I guess it's like HVAC sales. I don't know.
Project manager.
What's the biggest hurdle then when you have to go to be a consultant?
I think it's just knowing the product that you're talking about.
Yeah. Because there's just so much different products.
Right. There's so much. Like, at PetSmart, I had the solution already. It was there for 10 years. Like, you could fire off any question, and I can have at least a beginning and middle, and maybe we can talk about those things and find the solution in our conversation. Right. Here, I'm like, what do you mean?
I will say PetSmart had fantastic training. Like, a part of the reason why I could answer all those questions was because they had a great training program. I would imagine they also have a very great training.
Have really good resources, and but there's so much information.
It's very dense.
Like, I have nothing. I started with nothing.
Yeah.
10 months ago, nothing.
Yeah, right.
Like, insulation keeps you warm. Yeah. Heating it gives you more warmth.
Insulation tanks keep you warm.
Exactly. It was like, so you have a very, very, very base knowledge of what the heck you're doing, and then you get thrown into a conversation, and then every home's different. Every design's a little bit different. Right. So you got to really look at the whole picture of what you're doing and find the right solution, because if you don't, you could screw up someone's house pretty good.
Screw up somebody's house, but also, like, people feel like you're trying to sell them 12,000 things over than what they really need, right? It's like, you've got to find the product that hits the bullseye. Right, you got to find like that perfect. Right. And how do you build now 10 months in, how do you build your client base?
A lot of it, you get leads from the company, but obviously from there you have good relationships. You talk to people, and they recommend you. So much like anywhere else. Like, but luckily I have a constant flow of clients coming in, and warm leads, possibly, like that people want to talk about. So I don't have to do a bunch of prospecting on my own in that direction. Yeah. But every time you walk into someone's house, you want to put your best forward and get them to say, "Hey, this Derrick Fischer guy, top-notch guy.
Right.
Talk to these people.
Have you already started getting referrals?
I've gotten one referral as of now.
Oh, 10 months. I mean, that's pretty good.
So
your first year in your real estate, you don't get anything, right? It's like hard to get a single referral because you don't really close anything your first year, you know? So, I mean, it's kind of is what it is. It's an interesting business because there's so many different correlations between yours and mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've said it 1,000 times, but it's really interesting because it's like we can get warm leads, cold leads, but my business is very much eat what you kill. And if I want to take a day and sit in my underwear and play video games all day, I can.
Mm-hmm.
But that means loss of income 2 months on the road, 3 months on the road, 4 months on the road.
Right.
So I try to, like, every day try to get a new lead, just try to do something that's real estate focused. Every day, do you have like a routine or like 3 things you do off the bat every single day that's work related, or I guess even maybe mentally or physically related? Like, do you meditate every morning?
For a while I was running. I've fallen off the running path the last week and a half. So I was doing really well. End of October, I hit 100 miles in a month.
I was going to ask because I remember you said you were trying to run that in 1 month. When was that? October of last year. Really?
So I've fallen off the running wagon a little bit here. So it's tough because for me to run, I have to wake up at 4 a.m.
Right. Right.
So like it's
100 miles though. That's like over 3 every single day.
Yeah. So I think I ran a couple 9 in there, a couple 7s.
Yeah.
But it takes a while to build up, and I'm clearly not built up to where I can run 100 miles in a month.
What was it like that first week? Is the first week you're running? I don't mean to sidetrack, but that first week that you were running, how exhausted was your body? Did it take a while to get used to that? Because that's a high demand.
Well, you don't start off running 100 miles. You go, I'm going to run 1 mile.
Right.
All right, you run that for a week. All right, I can run a mile and a half. And then what I typically do is I'll push myself for a longer run and then do a couple shorter runs, then push myself for another long run and then do a couple shorter ones. Like in that 100-mile stretch, I would do like 1 9, probably I think I did a couple of 7s, many 5s, and then a few when you're just beat, you do a couple 3s. Mm-hmm. But you generally and for me, I like to go for the time length, not like I have to do a certain speed or a certain distance. Like I just get up and you swear at yourself the first mile and you're like, but then after that first mile you're done, you hit a rhythm for myself that I'm fine the rest of the way.
Right.
But it's that first mile and getting up and getting moving. I don't like it. Especially at 4:30 in the morning.
4:30. Well, you got 7 kids.
Right. Well,
that's the only other time that you can do anything.
You get home from work, it's homework, dinner, bed.
Yeah. And then you're so exhausted, you're going to bed with them at the same time.
8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez. So, I didn't mean to sidetrack. So running was every day for you. Are you doing anything else every other day or every day?
I mean, I get anywhere between 2 and 4 appointments a day. Mm-hmm. So each one of those could be an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you have to build proposals after that. So I typically go into a house every day. I actually typically try to get a coffee and a breakfast sandwich at Burn Dairy just to get myself going.
Yeah.
But like. Then it's just nailing the appointments, talking to people, and then it's building the proposals after that.
How do you get those appointments?
Company just gives them to you.
So they generate the leads and they pass them off to you?
And those leads are typically, so you come in after an install, so the furnace, AC, some install, they'll call them and try to set up a healthy home evaluation. So that's one of the leads I may get. There's also these programs called NYSERDA or Empower, where you can get low-cost insulation or HVAC equipment. Mm-hmm. So I come in after those, and those are audits that you have to do. And by an audit, I mean you test their equipment for health and safety reasons and just give them an overall education on how their house is performing. Mm-hmm. From there could be funds available for them to do continued work. So just help them educate that and how they could save and where they could improve their home the best. And then all of the people just straight up insulation, mold remediation call, like, hey, I have mold. Can you send someone out? Yeah. So those are the 3 different style leads I get. And I'm the only auditor in Syracuse. So from Pulaski to Cortland, from Auburn to Oneida for Isaac Keating, I'm the only person to do this role. So
wow.
I'm running typically 3 to 4 calls a day.
Yeah.
And it's just getting to the calls, talking to customers, make sure I'm taking the time. I never answer my phone when I'm with a customer. That way it gives me, it gives them the respect. Like I'm here for you. I'm not, my brain's not 10 other places. Get as much information, as many pictures that I can, and have a game plan for my next steps with the customer. And then typically once I get home, it's building whatever proposals I have to do for the next day or the next 2 or 3 days. Because I'm a couple behind, like I didn't keep up on it, and all of a sudden it piles
up out of nowhere.
You could have a good 3 or 4 proposals to write in a day. I can't do that after I get home. So I just kind of knock out the proposals that are coming ahead and stay a couple days in advance of that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. It seems like, are you far too busy to do things like door knocking and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Sounds like you have like literally appointments every single day.
Yeah. And if you have time between them, you're writing proposals or following up with phone calls or like there's very little time to prospect what you have. It's just making the most of what they give you.
Right. And that is the one thing they always stress in real estate is like keeping your pipeline full, right? Of like all the leads that are coming in, and you want leads in like 3 different stages: short-term, mid-term, and then long-term. So you want the person who's ready to buy or sell today. Yeah. You want the person who's going to be ready in the next couple months, and then you want the person to be ready in a year or next year. Do you see yourself like having those 3 different kinds of leads, or is it just a matter of Isaac gives you all these warm leads of people that's ready to go today?
I think it's just keeping on top of the people that are ready to go today.
Yeah.
Because there's too much.
Yeah.
There's too much to kind of forecast and plan, and there's not really a good system to have that ready to go. It'd be something I have to build. Yeah. And I got 7 kids, man. I get my leads I take care of now, and hopefully I do a good enough job to where they go, the Derrick Fischer guy, I better call him next time.
Yeah.
So that's what I got to focus on. And then there's a lot to do at home.
Yeah, I know. 7 kids. That's a lot. That's 7 mouths to feed. Actually, 9 if you count you and your wife.
It's true.
Right?
We got to feed ourselves as well.
How do you gauge success in your job? Is it just the amount of appointments you have? Is it the amount of jobs closed? Or is it the number of people you talk to in a day? Well, for you, how do you measure that?
Right now, I'm measuring it with how comfortable I am sitting down, proposing, and talking to someone. Luckily, there hasn't been any pressure with me. Like, all right, you have to do X amount of sales. You have to get this amount of leads closed. Like, everyone's kind of just letting me be and ride. So ideally, I would like to close 1 sale a week. Mm-hmm. But sometimes there's 2 or 3 you close in a week. Sometimes there's 0.
Right.
So for me, like knowing where I was in retail and how comfortable I was just talking, like that's where I want to go. Mm-hmm. Like, unfortunately, I'm not shooting for a number. Like, the sales will come, the money will come, the comfort will come, but I have to work at every appointment, trying to get the most out of it, and then reflecting on it. Like, all right, I could have done this a little bit better. All right, I need to try to work this into my conversation, and just get good with the conversation, and everything else will fall in line if I can get good with that conversation and be active in that talk, in that
the position.
That role. Yeah. Because I was very comfortable in retail.
Yeah. I mean, you spent your whole life in it, right?
Everything was slow motion.
Yeah.
Like, I could see everything coming. I could see everything developing. And I just don't see that right now. And it's if I can get to the point where I'm not calling 2-3 guys per job, like, all right, what about this? All right, what do they think about this? All right, what about this? All right, or is this an option? Or once I can limit those phone calls, I can see what's going on. I can see the things develop. I'll know I'll be in a good spot, and I know the success will come. Yeah. Like, I can talk to people. It's a given. Now can I do it in this role? And I know I can. 2-3 years down the road, I'll be really good. But let's just take my time, not getting impatient, and just let myself the time to develop.
I remember when you had first got into it, you had said your drive home was always like how you reflect on things. And I thought it was really funny because I'm the same way when I leave like a listing appointment, or if I get done showing a house, it's always on the drive home that I'm like, what did I do that could have done better? Did I talk too much about them and not the house? Did I give them what they wanted in terms of a presentation or information that they wanted? It was really funny when you said that. I'm like, I'm in the same exact way where I'm like, music's off on my drive home always, because I'm always like, I should not have talked about their cat for 15 minutes. Maybe I should have talked more about the house. But that's how growth happens, right? That's how you get better at your presentation. Or for me, I call it a presentation. When you get to somebody's house, do you call it a presentation, or is it
it's a presentation
or a consultation?
It's I don't know what I call it.
Consultation sounds really fancy.
It is reflected on that interaction. All right, how did I do? That came off clunky, or I can see sometimes I'm looking at myself in the middle of the conversation, like, dude, you're talking way too much. Stop it.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
Right.
Let them talk. You gotta flip this around and ask them more questions. Help them pull out what we're trying to do here. And so it's and then I constantly listen to YouTube videos. I think Mark Warshak or whatever is a good sales guy on giving you tips and helping.
What was his name?
Mark Warshak, I think.
I want to write it down. I'll have my notebook in my office.
He's a sales guy. He has
Warshak,
something like that. It's
all right. I put a question mark because I don't know.
I'm sure when I start typing in my phone, it'll pop up and I can show it. But listening to him, I read Simon Sinek's books. There's 3 of them. Those are fantastic. And that's actually what kind of helped me go to Isaac in the interview process. The HR rep. So they all had to read one of his books. I believe it's the first one, The Power of Why. Why is the main thing on it. So like, as we did that at the same time, weirdo.
The Power of Why.
Is that The Power of Why? Find your why, discover your why. It's something about why. I'm horrible with names.
No, it's okay. We did that same drill here. It was like, what's your why? And then it's like you draw the 3 circles, right?
Yeah.
What's your why? Right? It's like family, or maybe you want to have extra income, or maybe you want a really cool car, right? That's your why. Then the second circle is
it how?
I feel like it's how. Like, how are you going to get there? And then there's one more bulletin. What? So, or is it reversed? Yeah, it might be reversed.
So Simon Sinek's in that book was, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I'm hoping that's what's coming through in my conversations is why I'm doing this. I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm trying to help them feel more comfortable in their house, understand what's going on in their house, how does their house function as a whole, and not trying to just sell them something, because they're not going to buy that.
Right.
They're going to buy why I'm coming out to there and talking to them.
So what's your why then? Just to help people find solutions?
I want to help people feel more comfortable in their house. And even with PetSmart, my why was I want people to enjoy this process. Like, so I want people to feel better. Like, I want them to be happy. Like, I hate when things are off, like, and they don't feel good. Like, I'm uncomfortable in my house. Well, I can help you make you more comfortable in your house. Right. My dog's acting up. Why? Like, your dog, you got to walk them more, or something, and help them understand the path and solution. So I like being that liaison to help clear a path and help understand how to get to a place where they.
At least you had a why in PetSmart. I had no why at PetSmart. I was just there because that was like my first job, kind of as my second. My first job was kind of on our table, but second job, and I just was there for a long time because I was good at it and I was afraid to go literally anywhere else. That my why was I was too afraid to go anywhere else.
Well, I mean, that's why I also probably stayed in retail, because I was good at that. They kept on paying me more money and promoting me and moving me around. And that's just not PetSmart and retail in general. I never had the balls to leave.
Right.
I was like, I'm pretty good at this. If they want to pay me enough money to where I'm comfortable, I guess I'll stay.
Right.
And I kind of just fell into that.
What was it for you that made you want to switch careers, or was that not even like the original plan?
It was about probably 2-3 years before I found this. Like it was just and I guess this goes back to other beliefs too. The I don't want to say corporate, but the lack of support, the lack of, all right, we're making millions of dollars, sending it back to home office, and we're getting very little support as far as payroll, as far as additional training, as far as payroll is a huge thing. We didn't have the support to do these things. Like
everywhere I went, I say everywhere, it was 2 places, PetSmart and Runnings. It was always about how could we cut payroll, because that was the easiest thing that you could do to affect your P&L, your profit and loss statement. That was always the one thing that they would go to. And I hated that because I was already like, you guys already made $1 million this month, and I can't have a third cashier on the busiest days of the year. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
And the stress of not being able to complete your job to the best of your ability because you didn't have the resources to do so. And the stress of when a boss came in like, hey, did you do XYZ? I'm like, no.
I have no opportunity to.
I couldn't do XYZ. Yep. I didn't like that constant feeling.
Yeah.
And the store managers I had were fantastic. But then once you go to the district manager and regional, they expect XYZ.
Yeah.
And I could not deliver it. I didn't feel like I could deliver it. And I always felt behind.
Yeah.
So
did you purposely seek like a local family owned company, less corporate company when you had left, or when you started looking elsewhere?
I was just looking for the right fit.
Okay.
Like that didn't necessarily have to be family locally owned, because they could be shitty too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Like, so it just needed to make more sense. And I mean, I was looking at some government roles. I was looking at other companies, looked at other retail, and I didn't know where I really fit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the conversations with Isaac and really the HR person I talked to right away. And it was that connection with Simon Sinek, his book. And it just seemed like when you dug into Isaac and started to look at what's online and what was there for him, it seemed like a good company to go for.
Mm-hmm.
So, in this role, like, yes, I have commission based, but I'm also salary based.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have to jump into all commission role.
Right.
Similar to I've had people talk about insurance and realtor sales, like reality sales.
Realtor.
Let's talk about reality sales.
Realtor. It's realtor. Realty. Realty.
Language is not my strong.
It's tough to say, man. Some of the words are tough.
So, going back to reality.
Reality.
No, it gave me the opportunity to just dive into this sales thing, but also have a base salary, so I wasn't fully going
all commission,
butt naked into the pool of sales.
Yeah, when you jump into real estate, you are butt naked in the pool of sales, and you better hope that something clicks. I always tell people, in New York, it's different than in other states, right? Like, say if you got licensed today, mm-hmm. and maybe in a week you got a deal.
Mm-hmm.
In every other state, with the exception of maybe 3, that deal would close in 30 days. Right? Offer accepted to close. Not in New York. It's 60 days, right? And even then, it could take longer than 60 days.
Yeah,
there's like
a lot of crap.
I know there's a lot of should it take 60 plus days to close on a house? Absolutely not. But we're in the state of New York, and I think California does it, and there's a few others. But anyways, it's tough, especially when you don't have money saved up, you don't have income still flowing through. Mm-hmm. I feel like I was just super fortunate that I was able to still work at Runnings while I was building this business, because I had just checked out of that place. I had checked out of retail. I had checked out of that place. And a lot of people don't get the opportunity to have that safety net, which is like super important. So when people talk about going to a sales job, having full commission versus salary and commission, mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of would prefer that mix. It would be nice. It's just nice to have the consecutive paycheck, and then the commission check's like a little bonus every time you close something,
Sure.
I would like that way. I wonder if real estate will ever see that trend go away from commissions to like a salaried mix. I know there's a couple brokers out there that do salary. It's very, very rare, but you don't get your commission. It's like,
see, I wouldn't even want I would not be wanting to do. I would be very happy just getting a paycheck. So let's say if I did this role, I'd be like, all right, give me $70,000 a year, and I could maybe earn.
I'll do more.
I'll
keep whatever is over, right?
Yeah, like I would do that for a while, at least to get me built up, because I know I could do it.
Right.
It's just wading through the waters of not knowing what to do for a while, and then getting to that point, and it's that you'd have to find a company who wants to make that investment, and that have that trust, and kind of let you
good luck, good luck, right?
Right, because they're all
the first year. Nobody's doing sales in realty, but like if we talk about real estate. There are things you do. Like if you're just getting into the job, you could literally go on a team, which is what a lot of people recommend if you're starting off. Because if you go onto a team of like 5 or 6 agents, they generate the leads and then they give those leads to their agents. It gives you a chance to kind of like basketball players practicing their free throws, right? It's kind of like you're grabbing these leads, you get to practice showing houses, doing your thing. And then after like 3-4 years, you leave the team, start your own gimmick. That's how some people will get into the business. But it's a weird business because the fail rate is like 80% of agents quit in their first 2 or 3 year mark, because the 2 year mark is when you have to renew your license. And a lot of people are like, fuck this is way too hard. And they're like, I'm dipping out of this. Yeah. But that's unfortunately just the nature of how the business is. It's nice that you kind of have a little bit of a safety net with the salary. I know it's probably nothing to shake a stick at, but at least it's something that you still get to take home.
Something to start off.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Were there any like surprises that you weren't expecting when you got into the business, the consulting Isaiah business?
I think it's sometimes the perceived lack of support. Like I have a job where we were doing soffit work, so the overhang on someone's roof. We opened up some, and it was all rotted out. And I was like, we need to get a carpenter. All right, great. How do I get a carpenter? I don't know. Go find a carpenter. Huh? How do I find? Wait a minute. I don't even know a carpenter. How am I going to find a carpenter? Well, you got to call a carpenter. Go get him. All right. Okay. I guess another instance is we do mold remediation, but I need a mold assessor. Or in Syracuse, no one has a mold assessor ready for me to go. So I spent like hours searching online, like to find. Right now I have 3 numbers. One guy doesn't have his license, so I have 2 numbers I can work off of.
I got a guy.
But you have a guy too?
Yeah. When this ends, I'll give you his info. I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you.
I got somebody for you.
So, but little things like that, like you're kind of on your own with certain things. I mean, you do have a good team behind you, but there's things that you're kind of on your own to figure out. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why you strive in that business, because that I think is you thrive in 2 areas: is being genuine and making connection with person, like right off the bat. And the second is you are able to find solutions when you get answers like that. When like it takes me back to like corporate, when like at PetSmart, they'd be like, all right, Derek, your team needs to sell 30 puppy kits this month. And then you'd quickly be like, well, how do you want me to sell 30? That's a lot, right? And they'd be like, figure it out. And you'd be like, okay, all right, so if I do this math, 30 is 1 day every week, and we have how many employees? If I can just get one person to sell a puppy kit in the month of July, we'll make it, right? Like, but that's where you strive, is like figuring out the solutions to that kind of thing, which is like a perfect fit for you. I think that job is a great fit.
No, so far it has been.
Do you feel like you're getting to the point where you're past, I call it imposter syndrome, right? Where you feel like you're maybe not as competent or as comfortable in the position. Now, 10 months in, you have a better understanding of all the programs, the products, the solutions. Do you feel like that's starting to go away now?
I think slowly. I think it's still there. I mean, we still run into.
You always feel it, right?
Like, never seen that before, but we'll have to talk about it. But I'm okay. I've always been comfortable saying I don't know.
Right.
I just luckily I get to say I don't know less.
Oh yeah, right. Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, 4 years in for me, I think I say I don't know less. But never have I ever been, you don't ever make up an answer. You're always like, ugh, I haven't seen that before. Let me call my broker.
You probably should
And-
go, hey,
good.
Jeez,
Yeah.
I don't know. No, it's I don't know, but I'll find the answer.
Right.
We'll meet up in a week or two and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, right. Right. Do you have mentors there at Isaac?
Yeah,
Like people that you kind of like?
I have about 3 or 4 guys I lean on for different areas that I'll call several times a week.
Is there one salesperson you kind of like look up to? You're like, God, I wish I could be like them.
There's qualities of several that I like to try to pull in to what I have.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not like there's one guy that just blows everyone out of the water. Like, yeah, but there's not. I'm at the point where I'm not like, oh, he's like he's a shit.
Yeah.
He's like walking on water.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, I see how he got there. Now I gotta work my ass off to maybe eat a quarter of his pie.
Yeah.
So it's at 40, I feel more comfortable with who I am and what I can do, and just knowing it's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, no one's really walking on water.
Yeah.
For me.
Do you take parts of all those different top producers and try to mimic them?
Oh yeah, there's little strategies.
What's one quality you've mimicked?
One quality, it's the intro. One of the guys, Ryan, like how he starts the conversation out to help get the people more comfortable with him, and to say, I'm basically a house doctor.
Yeah. That's a good way. Yeah.
And we're going to go through, and much like if you haven't been to a doctor in a long time, they're going to tell you 100 things are wrong, but we're going to look at a couple things and see if we can improve your house in little ways.
Like what's the, I might give you a list of 12 things, but I'm going to give you 3 things that you really should probably do. Mm-hmm. But all the 10 other things, maybe they're not so important, but if you want to do them, you probably...
It's a good idea to do it.
Right. Yeah, and real estate was the same thing. When I first got here, I have... there's definitely people I try to emulate their style and how they approach things and how they talk to them. But real estate's a very weird business. It's very it's very competitive, but not like in the office space. It never felt here in this office never feels competitive. It feels like we're all mutually like each other, respect each other, love each other. But I've heard some horror stories of other offices or other brokerages that have just been like super, super competitive. But I'm very lucky here that like, if I'm like stuck with something and be like, Jen, how do you do that? How do you handle that? All right, I'm gonna take that buyer presentation from you. I'm gonna steal that and tweak it and make it my own. But that's how I've gotten to where I'm at now, just from taking little bits of everybody to try to mix it as my own signature sauce. That sounds terrible. Are you still doing stand-up?
I've done it twice. It's just tough to find the time.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like an idea in the back of my head. I would like to try. I mean, the last couple months I've been playing guitar a little bit more. I've been dabbling around with that.
Did you bring it? You're going to play a live show for us,
I
right?
did not bring my guitar. I forgot this morning. The trash had to go out and stuff. So one thing led to another, and I didn't get that moving. 7
kids.
Yeah, it was, before I had the kids, I was playing open mics a lot, and it's another thing. I think I've found it. Like I was always didn't like singing, and now I still don't like singing. But I think I found a better, more comfortable range of where my voice is and how to use it. Even though
how did you approach it?
Like it.
How did you find that range?
Just I sung in my car more.
Yeah,
and just finding what that sounds like and how to play with it versus trying to emulate everyone else and how they sing. And it takes a while to kind of fall into that range.
Acoustic or electric?
Mainly acoustic, just because I have 7 kids. I'm like, what am I going to plug into?
I have no idea. There's no more outlets left in that house. All those kids took all of them.
I used to. I mean, I still have electric guitars. I have 6 or 7. The ukulele, a couple acoustics. I have a smaller acoustic that I can just pick up and play around. But I've been playing guitar for 20 something years.
If you could play guitar with anybody, alive or dead, who would it be? One person. It could be a singer. It could be like someone singing and you're performing, or it could be like you playing guitar with somebody, or musician. What musician would you want to play with?
What musician would I want to play with? I think right now it's Jeff Tweedy.
Jeff Tweedy? I honestly have never even heard that name.
You are an idiot.
I have no idea. Remember when I told you that I don't think I've ever listened to Bruce Springsteen and your head exploded? You're like, you have definitely listened to Bruce Springsteen. I'm like, I don't think I recall a single song of his. And you're like, what are you talking about? I think you immediately went to your car and you gave me that CD. Do you remember that?
I do not.
You don't remember that?
No.
This was at PetSmart. Yeah, I held on to that CD for way too long. I listened to it once and I'm like, this is dad rock. This is totally dad rock.
Yeah, and you're there. You should probably listen to some more Bruce Springsteen.
I am.
What, do you listen to Death Cab for Cutie?
Whoa, Phoenix? I haven't listened to Death Cab for Cutie since I was an emo kid.
Dashboard Confessional?
Oh, don't hit my heartstrings like that. Don't.
My Chemical Romance?
If you make me get my eyeliner out of my office right now. Well, they did have My Chemical Romance put out a new song that was pretty decent. Just saying.
Even your bands are starting to come back.
I know. I said that to Brittany. I was like, we're getting old when our childhood bands are now making a comeback.
Yeah. Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, they're classic rock.
Yeah.
Nirvana is on classic rock stations with like Zeppelin.
Wow, that's weird to think, huh?
They released their stuff, 30 years ago?
It's a matter of time before
30 years ago?
My Chemical Romance is on there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other. Armor for Sleep was another big one. All these emo bands I'd go to Warped Tour for to see and just be like, Dad, get out of my rooms! All this full of angst I had no reason to be full of.
All my lead singers are dying.
Yeah.
Chris Cornell, Scott Weiland, Stone Temple Pilots. They're...
Who have you been listening to the most lately?
What am I listening
Is there something you've been enjoying a lot?
I typically actually put on White Stripes station on iHeartRadio when I run, and I'll listen to that. They go through some Modest Mouse, Franz Ferdinand, White Stripes. Actually, one song that I've been listening to a lot and playing and trying to figure out how to play is actually by Billie Holiday. It is Strange Fruit. Have you heard of that song?
No, I haven't. Are you going to go get me another CD out of your car?
No, I don't have CDs anymore in my car. But no, Strange Fruit is incredibly, I find it incredibly powerful. It's actually really about racism and how it was a poem. I can't think of the guy who wrote the poem, but it's just basically describing lynchings.
Wow.
And the way...
What was the song called?
Strange Fruit.
Strange Fruit.
Both Billie Holiday and also Nina Simone have a fantastic version of it that just, it's so pointed. Like you listen to it and it's really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, that's, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about that recently, about Buffalo and how the shootings happened there. Right. What happened in Texas with the shootings down there, and just with guns and racism. I don't know how when Black Lives Matter, how did that hit you when that came out, or not came out? It just bubbled to the forefront of society. I mean, that's
it's been 2 years actually. I think earlier this week since George Floyd passed away. Yeah, honestly, it's was murdered, right? Murdered, right? Let's put it that way. Murdered in the street, right? That's a more accurate way to put it. It was I don't know, it's always so unsettling and wild to me to think that after so many years we're still in this place of violence and racism and like gross racism. That guy literally at the Buffalo supermarket, as he's gunning people down, said to one of the white clerks, "I'm sorry, I'm doing that." Said it to him, but didn't give a fuck about the people that he was shooting. This is the stuff that and I know racism ended Not that long ago, dude.
We were
not that long ago. Like, people think it was a long time ago, but if you meet somebody's grandmother, there's a very good chance her grandmother was probably a slave. Like, it's not that far removed.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, 2022, with the same gross issues.
Yeah.
But what do you do to fix it? Right?
That's
we have to do something, right?
I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. It's so, like, you think of like Ruby Bridges. She was the first black girl that went into schools, desegregated a white school down in Alabama, and that was only what, the 60s. So
60s, dude.
80 years ago.
My dad was born in 67.
Yeah, and
like, that's crazy to think.
And I think what hit me, like, it was after George Floyd, and actually I was at PetSmart, and a black customer came in that I've known now for a couple of years. And he was always come in, and I was talking to him like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm pretty good." And I was just, "How are you?" Like, I had no words. I was like,
yeah.
"How are you? Like, you okay?" And he actually told me about a book called White Fragility. I can't remember the author's name right now, but reading that helped open my eyes a bit more and understand what's going on and how it's perceived, and to look at things a little bit differently and understand. Like, can you imagine being a black parent right now and having your kid, like 17-year-old kid, driving around?
Yeah.
Like, you'd be terrified.
Yeah.
All the time.
I know, right.
Like, he's getting pulled over a good handful of times.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's our age, like, actually my age, not your age.
Yeah, dude, I'm like 21. I don't know what you're talking about.
You just got
You're
your
like
first
50,
kid here.
I have 3 chest hairs though.
So, but he was saying, like, he when he drove his nicer car, he'd get pulled over like 60, 70 times, like in the span of owning that vehicle. When he drove a crappier car like a Nissan Versa, he wouldn't get pulled over that much.
Yeah.
And just, that's still going on. Like, you if you really listen, like, it's never stopped. We were just insulated from it.
Yeah.
Like, we read
insulated because we're 2 white dudes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, and learning, like, growing up in the suburbs, like, having all, like, I wrote a poem or something about it just to help to understand and describe the way I felt. But, like, it's just like, we grew up in I think we have a white supremacist society. Mm-hmm. Like, we're intrinsically taught, like, white people are better.
Yeah. And
extrinsically, like, we're taught, oh no, we're all equal. No, right. Everything's equal. Diversity is great, but it's under there, and it is really unsettling. And
well, I think what George Floyd was to a lot of people was a perfect example of all of that happening, right? That's a perfect example. We live in a world now where literally anybody can film something. So thank God, like, I'm glad somebody filmed that. And I know that sounds terrible to say, witnessing somebody, but it was, as hard as it was to watch, I was hoping it was going to be more of a wake-up call than it was for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I was hoping, I was like, oh my, like, I felt like physically sick, like, watching that as he's like crying out that he couldn't breathe. And I was like, well, maybe this is going to, like, wake people up. Maybe this is how people are going to understand. Like, maybe this will really shock people. Yeah. And here we are, like, 2 years later, I felt like 0 things have changed since then. And it's sad. It's really sad to say that I still feel like it's, I don't know. It's wild times, dude. It's just crazy.
Black people are still being treated like that.
I know,
like,
right?
You see videos currently. I think there was an army sergeant being harassed by cops in a couple, maybe less than a year ago. We had Aubrey down in the South being gunned down for running. Mm-hmm. Like, how is that okay? Like,
yeah, I know.
And then we're still treating people like this.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Did you ever watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
I have seen clips of it and stuff.
It is a really funny show, and there are sometimes they put an episode together that is just so well done that you're like, holy cow, and there's an episode on there where they talk about Terry Crews, big old black dude, shredded, how he's like one of the chiefs in the police department, and he was trying to find his daughter threw a car, like a stuffed animal, out the window or something. It was nighttime, and he went to go get the stuffed animal, and the police apprehended him and arrested him even after Terry was saying, like, and it was this whole episode that I thought was like beautifully written on a perspective that I've never had before. Like having to like deal with worrying about if you were going to get arrested for, dude, he went out of his car to grab his daughter's like stuffed animal. Like it's not that far from reality that something like that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I felt like they did a really good job like piecing that together and really showing how like that shit is still could happen today. You know, just I don't know, man, it's a wild time. And I like, what's the answer? Everybody be more loving. Like how can we teach people that?
I think as white guys, when we hear other white guys being awful,
call them out on their bullshit,
we have to start talking and speaking up. And I know that's not a strong suit of mine in the past, and I have to do better. Mm-hmm. I have to do better because I couldn't imagine having a black kid knowing they're going to deal with this shit.
Yeah.
And being taught, and they're taught this right away.
Yeah.
We're not.
Right.
We're like me at 38, 39. I'm like, oh wow, this is going on. I thought racism ended with Martin Luther King, and then when we elected Barack Obama, oh, this is gone.
Right.
This is not racist anymore, and yet it is terrible. Like that when Donald Trump came to office and things started bubbling up, it's like, wow.
Martin Luther King, 1968. That's not long ago.
No.
That is not long ago. Like that is when you think of MLK, it's like it was a very, very long time ago, and that was a little over 50 years ago.
Yeah,
a little over 50 years ago, which is wild to think. And I had an idea I had a perspective that was brought to me. How about having money? Like these are all the examples, right? Like money with actual slave owner. These people own slave. That's on our currency that we use today. It's something I never thought about until I heard the other day. I was like, wow, that is something I've never thought of before.
That's wild.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
That's unacceptable.
Yeah, right. I know. That's what I'm like. It's just I don't know. There's a lot of different perspectives I haven't had in my life before, and seeing it from under the lens of not only George Floyd, but all these other examples, it's really disheartening, and it's frustrating because I feel like we don't have the answers, and we're not doing anything to try to change that.
Right. No, it's tough to hear and see, and like that guy in Buffalo, the replacement theory. Like, dude, come on,
dude.
No one's trying to replace us.
Dude.
Like, no one's replacing anyone. We're trying to listen, and like we're all the same. Like it doesn't like we're just a little bit different. Yeah. So what?
Right.
Black people have dreads. Their hair's different.
Right.
Big deal.
Right. It's I don't know, man. It's unsettling, and I hope just something can happen. Jeez, I did not think this podcast was going to turn into this.
I guess it turned into this.
Yeah. Wow. Holy cow. But no, it's just I don't know how many times I can say it's disheartening and sad. It's tough. Sad to see.
And then also, like, and the other thing it's on my mind is just the kids and guns in schools and like that the Buffalo incident and I unfortunately are related a little bit because they happen so close together. But how in society do we produce so many 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds going into schools and shooting kids?
Yeah, schools, movie theaters. I mean, dude,
grocery stores, people were just shopping.
Yeah.
School, like how does anyone in that community like Sandy Hook, or I can't even say that I read it, I don't know how many times, Uvalde?
Oh yeah, I can never say that. I can't say that city.
But like how as a parent do you go on, or how, if your kid survived, do you look at your neighbor who might have lost a kid?
Yeah.
How do those kids go back to school, and as a teacher, like how does that community go on?
That's the kind of trauma that people get when they're in war.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like not as a kid in like 4th grade. You know what I mean? Like that is something that's a traumatizing event that people see. And like, I always keep referring to that. Like, death is something that we're supposed to see in war, not in a school, not in a grocery store. Dude, I was just trying to get apples. And you watch people get mowed down in front of you, like the processing all that. How do you go back to normal? Just one day at a time? Like, that's tough, man. That's like, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable even living in that city anymore.
Can you feel comfortable anywhere? Because that's happening anywhere.
Everywhere.
Like, the kid bought 2 AR-15s. Just, I'm 18. I can buy semi-automatic
legally.
guns. And they're like, oh, sure. Have fun.
Right.
What? I can't believe those are available.
I know.
Like, and it's happened more than once. And I was reading an interesting article from the principal of Columbine. And he said, arming with teachers with guns, it's still not going to work. Because when I look at that kid coming down the hall, I see an 18-year-old kid who I want to help.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not thinking about drawing my weapon to stop him. I'm thinking about helping him put down that gun.
Yeah.
Because they're hurting too. Like, how are we creating these 18-year-old kids that are just so pent up with rage and frustration and anger that they want to just murder these kids? Like, we're creating that too. So, yeah, I believe any kid who does that should be held responsible, but we seriously failed those children as well.
Do you think it's weird? Do you think the parents?
I think all of us.
Yeah.
I think the society that we're building and that we've created. And what I mean is, it's cell phones attribute to that, the parents attribute to that, and what they're going through. Like, there's so many pieces to that. Like, and it's not just bullying in school, because we all got bullied a little bit, but it's the how it's developed and changed over the years. We don't do it face to face anymore. When you say, all right, I think you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, look at it. His face looks kind of turned. He might be kind of sad. Like, that kind of hurt him. Yeah. It's kind of hurt me. No, you get to say it behind a screen.
And never see the emotion.
And these trolls, like, they just lay out the best burn, and you don't just see the impact of that. Like, I think when my kids are beating each other up and hurt another one, you say, look at their face. This is what you did. Mm-hmm. This is the impact you made with your words and your actions. Mm-hmm.
And that's removed now.
Right, because you just sit behind a screen. There's kids just sitting in their rooms, dicking around on their phones instead of going outside and playing in dirt.
All right.
I guess one of my thoughts in the world, as far as like, we have now, what are they called? They're boxes, sensory boxes. You go through, you can dig in sand, dig in rocks, and find things. Our sensory boxes used to be going outside.
Like, not right here.
Now we're just, everything is right here. It's Simon Sinek has a great thing that the phones, every time you get a ding or you win a little stupid game, you get a shot of dopamine. Mm-hmm. And that dopamine is similar to the reaction you get when you have your first bit of alcohol or a bump of cocaine or anything happy, or your first bite of cake and sugar. So you start to get addicted to that, and now it's on our phones. Mm-hmm. And we're removing ourselves. We're more socially connected, but we're not.
More socially connected more than ever, but further apart, further removed from each other, right?
And so we're in, the logarithms that develop, that you can start looking on your phone, and all of a sudden it looks like everyone's talking about racism and school shootings and the positivity that it can make. But guess what? There's other people going down the pipeline going, all these minorities are replacing us, and they have to be wiped out. And all of a sudden, there's people shooting down pizza shops because they think in the basement Hillary Clinton's drinking baby's blood.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, it's so weird, isn't it?
Like, it's, I don't know. There's so much to this that it just binds you up.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially when you have kids. I think that's why it hits hard for a lot of people. It's because you hear school shooting, you go, "Oh my God, my kid!" Right? Like, you immediately like, "My God, if I was that parent," or "My God, if I can't imagine being that person." Like, I know that was my first thoughts. Mm-hmm. Like, right? Like, now that I'm a dad, it's like, wow, it makes it, I don't want to say like I don't want to send Ashton to school, but now there's a part of me that's like, what if I just homeschool him? right? But I don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm going to say this for everybody.
You'd be great at roll craft.
I would not absolutely ever homeschool my kids. I'm too stupid and I'm not intelligent enough to teach Ashton anything. Okay. With that being said, though, when you hear all of that, kids getting shot in school, your first instinct as a parent is like, how can I get him out of that situation? Like, how can I get them removed from that? Even though it was many, many states away, the Buffalo shooting, dude, that's a 2.5 hour drive from here. I know that doesn't seem like far, but that's pretty close, you know? I've never taken him grocery shopping with me, I guess. Never. It's like, how do you battle that fear? How do you battle never wanting to take them to places? Because you're scared as when I was younger, when I was like 10, I would look at my dad and my mom and be like, they have their shit together. And I'm realizing they didn't. They just played it off because I am starting to do the same thing. Ashton's only 2, but I'm still trying to play things off like I'm the calm, cool, collective adult that has his shit together.
Well, they look up to you because you can actually poop in the toilet.
That's right.
They're still trying to figure out where to poop.
Sometimes. Maybe not after Dairy Queen, but yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to look back at your parents and think, they had their shit together. And you're like, no, they were just faking.
But when you were younger, I for sure thought I thought they had all their ducks in a row and they were probably ice skating and panicking through life like I do.
They're struggling like the rest of us.
Derrick, thanks for doing this. I didn't think we were going to go down the path of school shootings and terribleness.
I guess we got there.
That's okay. That's all right. The podcast has no objective. It has no objective. All it is just to talk about cool stuff that's going on in your life. That's all.
Cool stuff.
Well, new job, running over that. I mean, shootings and guns and issues, that George Floyd, none of that is cool. That shit all sucks. Right. But talking about how you've now found a new love for what you do and a new passion is really cool to see. It's nice to see you're still thriving.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to talk to you too.
Hey, thanks.